Welcome to the Empires of Galaxy 7 Stellaris Grand AI Tournament. We're starting with Eyvaarnh, a collective consciousness hive mind from the relic world of Eyvaarnh. They are a hive mind. Pop growth speed is increased by 25%, empire size effect minus 25%, so they can grow quickly. And of course they can also grow for a long time, kind of makes up for their lack of partners. They're an empath, available in voice +2 and diplomatic weight +10%, which will help them get these partners if they use that well. They also have a natural neural network. Unemployed drones produce research points, and they have one more research alternative. So if they use these plans well, that might go very well for them. They're a Gestalt consciousness, which means they are not affected by happiness, will not have factions, but cannot survive in non-Gestalt consciousness empires, can use the no-retreat war doctrine and have 20% less war exhaustion, gain 1 more monthly influence and 2 more encryption. They are basically doing very well in war. They are also lithoids, consuming minerals instead of food. Pop growth speed decreased by 25% and assembly speed as well. Habitability and army health increased by 50% and leader lifespan plus 50 years. So they will live a very long time. They're great at defending and at settling everywhere. Hive-minded, not affected by happiness, said that already. They're natural physicists. Physics research from jobs is increased by 15%. It's very important, especially for hive minds. Its bonuses are even better than compared, because they have usually many pops, but they don't get happiness bonuses. So these bonuses are ever more crucial. They're enduring another 20 years of leader lifespan, so they get really, really long living leaders, and they have volatile excretions, 0.01 volatile modes per month for each pop working as a slave or better. So for each pop that is working. They're solitary, pop housing usage plus 10%, and weak, 20% less army damage and 2.5% less worker resource output. Solitary isn't that bad for them. It only really affects them in the end game, and due to Lithoid they have less pop growth speed already, and due to hive mind they have a nice decrease in empire size effect. So they're set up for a balanced game, and they could do really well. They are Remnants, the precursors, built an interstellar civilization with a planet-wide city at its center. For unknown reasons, their species suddenly went extinct, left behind were the Eyvaarnh, as primitive crystalline species, which was brought from their homeworld to this Ecumenopolis. As nature began to reclaim the abandoned planet, the Eyvaarnh developed a symbiosis with the native fauna in order to spread. Over the time, the city jungle encompassed the entire planet and formed a global network of roots and plants, through which the Eyvaarnh also developed a single connected neural network. This superorganism, called Eyvaarnh, developed a consciousness and managed to reclaim the precursor's technologies for itself. As always, we have high hopes for the Hive, because Hives seem to do quite well as an AI in this patch. We have the Sevanian Star Commonwealth, starting on the tomb world of Sath. They're a democratic, moral democracy, with automatic resettlement chance plus 50%, really helpful later on. They have Beacon of Liberty, 15% more monthly unity and 15% less empire size from pops, which is just, I think, a very, very huge bonus, especially for the late game with the empire size and for the early game with the monthly unity. It's just a very good pick at the moment. They are a meritocracy, increasing leader level cap by 1 and specialist pop resource output by 10%. Just a very, very helpful pick. They're egalitarian, faction unity gain plus 25% and specialist pop resource output plus 5%, also can use utopian living standards and cannot use autocratic government forms, of course. They're xenophiles, have an increased opinion for other species, way easier diplomacy, cannot use no refugee species policy, cannot enslave species, cannot displace aliens. They have trade value plus 10% and available envoys plus 1, so they can really work that. They can really work that and start with a bonus. It's really nice to give them more trade and probably more diplomatic relations. They're also pacifists. Cannot use unrestricted wars policy or engage in indiscriminate orbital bombardment. Empire size from POPs is decreased by 15%. Stability is increased by 5, so together with a Beacon of Liberty, they can have many POPs without much penalty. They are the Sevanian reptilian dragons with Tomb World habitability plus 70%, and they come from a, let's see what kind of world they come from an ocean world actually. So, but they are survivors from a tomb world. The sedentary, pop growth from immigration minus 15%, and resettlement cost plus 25%. I don't know if that could hamper their pop growth, but it shouldn't hamper them too much. In general, they will grow still okay. They are strong, army damage plus 20%, worker pop resource output plus 2.5%, which is good at the start and good for defense, and also, of course, good for taking over with the army damage especially. They're enduring, their leaders live another 20 years, and they're resilient. Defense army damage is increased by 50%, so they have extremely strong defensive armies. They have like a distribution there. It's a little bit of everything, and that means they could do really, really well. They are post-apocalyptic, baptized by nuclear fire. Capital starts as a tomb world, gain the survivor trait, we've already seen it, granting tomb world habitability plus 70% and leader lifespan plus 10 years. In years long past, the Sevanian species was bombed back to the Stone Age. Records on how and why have been lost, and they do not know who did it or why. Intertribal warfare was rife for centuries, but eventually a coalition of more peaceful tribes began to form and clawed their way back to being a civilized society. As they did so, they declared never again. And yet, even as they now reach for the stars, they know that to preserve peace, one must be prepared to defend it. Hence, the army stuff. Very, very wise choice. Very wise choice. We'll see if they can be successful in that. Now, the kingdom of Equec's beacon. They're living on the Arctic world of Azan's Crucible. They're an Irenic monarchy. They're Imperial and have power projection plus 1. They are a police state. Stability plus 5, unity from enforcers plus 1, and unity from telepaths also plus 1. So they have more unity and more stability, which is always like very good, especially at the start, to manage happiness and all kinds of effects. Stability influences just a lot. They have inward perfection, which means they cannot really do much of diplomacy. They cannot have rivals, defensive pacts, migration treaties, research agreements, commercial pacts, guarantee independence, federations, cannot infiltrate primitives, cannot have forced subjects, cannot use unrestricted wars policy too, because they're also kind of pacifists. They have, as a trade-off, monthly unity plus 20%, pop growth speed plus 10%, edicts fund plus 50%, citizen pop happiness plus 5%, 1 less available invoice, 1 more encryption, 1 less code breaking. So they are totally inward, and they get good bonuses for it. Not great ones, but good ones. They're authoritarian, monthly influence plus 0.5, and worker pop resource output plus 5%, allowing for the stratified economy living standards that save a little bit of consumer goods. They can enslave aliens, also from the Xenophobe, which they are, but they have a decreased opinion for other species, cannot give aliens full citizenship or full military service, cannot use refugees welcome species policy, but they have 20% less starbase influence cost, especially great at the start, together with a pop growth speed of 10% more. They're also pacifists. Stability plus 5, so another plus 5 here, plus 10, that is really huge. Empire size from pops minus 15%, which will also help greatly for long-term growth. They are charismatic, 20% more amenities from jobs, that will probably help. Amenities has always been a weak point. I mean, it has been improved, but we'll see how it does in the patch of 3.3. And they are natural sociologists, so society research from jobs plus 15%, maybe even a little bit over the top, together with intelligent, 10% more research output from jobs. Really cool. They're non-adaptive though. Habitability goes down 10% and weak. Army damage minus 20% and worker pop resource output minus 2.5%. That is minuscule. But non-adaptive could really hamper their growth kind of a little bit. And they really should... The only thing really stopping them from growing big is in that case the non-adaptive thing. But I guess together with charismatic, that could kind of balance each other out. So we'll see how that works. They have a prosperous unification, something the AI always uses well. And the whole kingdom of Equec's beacon is made from Crazyman 2099 from the PDX forums. And the prosperous unification starts with 4 more pops and with 2 additional districts, which is just a great starting boost. They also get a kind of a little buff that goes away after, I think, 15 years. So it's just a great start to start with prosperous unification. Gives you a good start. The Sathweer Sacred Theocracy is starting on the ocean world of Eyvaarnh. They are a theocratic oligarchy, getting 15% more faction unity gain, which helps with the unity. They're environmentalist, 20% less pop consumer goods upkeep, which helps a lot at the start, and anglers, getting extra consumer goods and extra trade from their anglers on wet world from wet world farmers, so and from the pearl divers especially. They are adding also the aquatic trade with that. They're egalitarian, so can use the great utopian living standards, but cannot use autocratic government forms. Faction unity gain is plus 25%, specialist pop resource output plus 5%, so they're really great in this. And they're also xenophobes, which helps them grow early on. They can purge aliens, enslave aliens, has decreased opinion for other species, but cannot give aliens full citizenship or full military service or refugees welcome. But they have 20% less starbase influence cost, which is great at the start, and pop growth speed plus 10%. They're spiritualists, can build the great temple buildings, cannot use full AI rights policy though. They have 10% more monthly unity, 10% less edicts upkeep and cost. I get a feeling they are kind of well-rounded, the Sathweer, the aquatics. They are aquatic. They have a lot of advantages on wet worlds, or rather on ocean worlds. They do like normal on wet worlds, and they have disadvantages on non-wet worlds. 20% more ocean ability, 10% less housing usage on ocean worlds and flooded habitats, and 10% more food, energy and mineral output on ocean worlds. On the other side, non-wet worlds, worlds that are not tropical, continental or ocean worlds, get 30% more housing usage and 20% less habitability, and the hydrocentric ascension perk amplifies this trait's effects. They are natural physicists. Physics research from jobs goes up 15%, and resilient defense army damage goes up 50%. On the offside, they are solitary, so their pop housing usage goes up 10%, which is though made up for with the aquatic trait. They're using here be dragons, so they are safe from early attacks through the space dragon and have access to very nice quests, and maybe can build dragons later on, starting with a space dragon roaming their home system. In Eyvaarnh, magic comes from the springs of power. It is still unknown when or how the springs of power came to be. This power source has attracted a mysterious dragon that has been constantly orbiting the planet ever since it showed up like a heart. The springs of power pulses magical energies into the world around it, but only those able to connect with these energies can use them for their own benefit. Security forces have been put into place to make sure nothing happens to this almost sacred source. Sathweerans are neither pacifists nor militarists. They are environmentalists, guardians of the springs of power, and extremely resilient. They will do anything in their power to protect their home planet of Eyvaarnh. And maybe the dragon will so too. There they are, the science cats on the main cat lab, their continental world. They're a science directorate. Oligarchic, faction unity gain plus 15%. Probably one of the most common constructs now, a rarity, a science directorate. They are a classic meritocracy, leader level cap plus 1, specialist pop resource output plus 10%, and technocracy. Capital buildings replace some politician jobs with science directors, and now new scientists have twice as high a chance to discover a technology that falls within their field of study. Research alternatives plus 1, so you can really plan your research path if you want to specialize in this with the science cats. They're egalitarian, they can use utopian living standards, but cannot use autocratic government forms. They have 25% more faction unity gain, and 5% more specialist pop resource output to add on to the meritocracy. They are fanatic materialists, increasing the research speed by 10% and decreasing robot upkeep by 20%, and allowing for the academic privilege living standards that are great and that you can implement even early on. Cannot use AI outlawed or robotic workers outlawed. They are intelligent, 10% more research from jobs, and natural engineers, one of the most important fields. Engineering research from jobs plus 15%. They're quick learners, 25% more leader experience gain. There's solitary pop housing usage plus 10%, and deviance, governing ethics attraction minus 15%. They are a prosperous unification, which usually helps the AI greatly. Starting the game with an additional 4 pops and an additional 2 districts. Felines who love science. I'm really, due to its kind of simplicity and due to the classic construction, I think they will do probably kind of good. We have already seen time after time that too much unity is not really that needed, and science can, at least in the mid and late game, replace the unity that you will need in the early game. So we'll see how that works out for the science cats that have 15% more faction unity gain. That should help them out. That should keep them going. They are coming from Typhonus, the Arctic world, the Lernian swarm, a ravenous hive mind with 25% more pop growth speed, 25% less empire size effect, no happiness and things like that. They're a devouring swarm. Exists only to consume and grow stronger, collecting all available biomatter, evolving to consume the galaxy. Cannot engage in diplomacy, cannot use galactic market, has hunger casus value on all other empires. Xenopobes will always be eaten, gains society research from eating xenopobes. 50% less starbase influence cost, it's crazy, these kinds of bonuses. But okay, they have no diplomacy, they will get attacked from just about everything else. 25% more ship hull points, 0.5% more daily hull and armor regen for ships, 40% more army damage, 20% more research speed biology, 25% less ship build cost, and 33% more naval capacity. They are a war machine. They have divided attention, empire size from planets minus 50%, so they can also have many planets. Their gestalt consciousness, war exhaustion gain minus 20%, monthly influence plus 1, and encryption plus 2. They can use no retreat war doctrine and are not affected by happiness, no factions, cannot survive in non-gestalt consciousness empires. They are hive-minded, we've had that already, and they have habitability plus 10%, which helps them settle even more, settle maybe all worlds they can come to. They're rapid breeders, pop growth speed is increased by 10%, really strong at the start. They're solitary, on the other hand, pop housing usage goes up 10%, and slow learners, leader experience gain minus 25%. They probably need some trade-offs for this massive bonus they got, and if they can survive the early game and grow big, who knows what, they can maybe even win the game. Prosperous unification, starting the game with an additional 4 pops and an additional 2 districts, which is a great starting bonus. And through its strife and triumphs, this society has reached every young civilization's ambition. A home world with unified goals and a path open to the stars. To nom 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 eat everything and everyone. Welcome to the ancient Najim, an enlightened horse monarchy, starting on an orbital habitat. They're Imperial, one more power projection. They have an aristocratic elite with nobles and noble estates available. Government level cap +1. Capital buildings replace some politician jobs with nobles. And the noble estates will give additional noble jobs. They have a philosopher king. It's not enough to simply rule. Your rulers and governors are less likely to gain negative traits, and ruler level cap +2. A fanatic authoritarian, allowing for the stratified economy living standards, can enslave aliens and must have the autocratic government form. One more monthly influence and 10% more worker pop resource output gives a great start. They are spiritualist. Can build the great temple buildings, cannot use full AI rights policy, monthly unity +10%, edicts upkeep and cost -10%. Makes for a great combination, I think. They're led by the Mare Ovingian void dwellers as well. Pop output and habitats +15%, pop output on non-artificial worlds -15%. Pop growth speed -10%, and pop happiness on non-artificial worlds a -30%. It's crazy. And they are, of course, decadent, living in these comfy habitats. Worker and slave happiness goes down by 10%. They're traditional, 10% more unity even, and agrarian food from jobs is increased by 15%, which helps out against the worries to get much food from orbital habitats. But void dwellers not only start with 3 orbital habitats and the technology to build more, members of our species also thrive on habitats, produce 15% more there. And 15% production penalty on all normal plants, but the hydroponic farms they use on the orbital habitats to get food have 1 more farmer job as well. What's a horse doing on a space station? What's pre-revolutionary France doing on a space station? Mickey, get a little perspective. What? That's the ancient Negim, led by the horse Hanakon. Here are the Brethren of the Coast, starting from the ocean world of Hada. They're a dictatorial bandit kingdom, 10% less empire size effect, and of course they can choose when their ruler dies for a new ruler. They are barbaric despoilers, holds few things sacred. They cannot form migration treaties, cannot form but join federations other than martial alliances or hegemonies, has the despoliation casus belli on all other empires, unlocks the raiding bombardment stance, which allows us to abduct pops from besieged planets and resettle them to our own worlds. They have a decreased opinion for most other empires and an exalted priesthood, which means capital buildings replace some politician jobs with high priests, and the unity from high priests is also increased by 1. They are xenophobes. They can purge and enslave aliens, which they will do being despoilers, cannot give aliens full citizenship or full military service, cannot use refugees welcome species policy. But 20% less starbase influence cost and 10% more pop growth speed for all people in the Empire. They're militarists. Empire modifiers of claim influence cost -10%, ship fire rate +10%, very useful in the mid-game mostly. And they can use the no retreat war doctrine. Spiritualists can build the great temple buildings, cannot use full AI rights policy, have 10% more unity output, edicts upkeep and edict cost -10%. So they're really cool with unity. And we'll just see if they can also research quickly. They are aquatic, 20% more ocean habitability, housing usage on ocean worlds and flooded habitats -10%, food, energy and mineral output on ocean worlds +10%, but housing usage on non-wet worlds +30%, habitability on non-wet worlds -20%. So they have a disadvantage on all other worlds than tropical, continental, or ocean worlds. Ocean worlds, they have a big advantage, which will even grow with the hydrocentric ascension perk, led by the Hadal, and their unruly empire size from pops is increased by 10%, balancing out the empire size effect a bit from dictatorial. Of course, that is better than this disadvantage. They are nomadic. Pop growth from immigration is increased by 15%, and resettlement cost is decreased by 25%. They're also thrifty. Their trade value from jobs is increased by 25%, and they're starting on a singular ocean paradise. Homeworld is an ocean world size 30 with rich food deposits and bonuses to happiness, pop growth, speed, and output. Guaranteed habitable planets are instead frozen worlds, which can be used to expand ocean worlds later on via ice mining station. Centuries ago, the pirate monks of Hada united under Blackgill the Bloody, greatest of all abbot captains, to scour their foes from the seas. Now they voyage into the greatest sea of all, and we'll see if they can overcome the starting disadvantage after the starting boost, because they won't have guaranteed habitable worlds. Here is the Dal Nogran ascendancy on the Arctic world of Mishunas. These little foxes have their theocratic monarchy with one more power prediction, Imperial, with a designated successor. They are a free haven. Pop growth from immigration is increased by 15% and immigration pool by 50%, so they will profit massively from migration treaties. There you have a diplomatic corps, 2 more available envoys and 10% more diplomatic weight. If anyone forms a federation, it might be them. Fanatic xenophiles, increased opinion for other species, massively in that case. Cannot use no refugees, cannot enslave entire species, cannot displace aliens, and 20% more trade value and the 2 more available envoys. Another 2, so they have 4 more available envoys. Crazy. The Spiritualists can build temple buildings, cannot use full AI rights policy. 10% more monthly unity, 10% less edicts upkeep and edict cost. If they find a partner, they might become really strong because they're also intelligent for the long run. 10% more research output from jobs and rapid breeders, 10% more pop growth speed. They are also sedentary. Pop growth from immigration is decreased by 15%, resettlement cost is increased by 25%. Of course, that's cancelled out by Free Haven, and they have a great immigration pool still, which will help them still draw in people from other civilizations mostly. Their solitary pop housing usage is increased by 10%. They are a prosperous unification. The AI mostly does well with that, starting the game with an additional 4 pops and 2 districts, and a buff for their starting planet. The Dalnogran are a race of humanoid foxes who originated on the world Dalnogra. Until recently they had little interest in space and formed a great advanced planet-bound culture. However, as the eons passed, the world's resources were drying up, and the Dalnogran began to look to the stars, hoping to find new worlds as well as new friends with whom they could share their great culture. Lastly, we come to the Markar Imperium, living on the arid world of Mortis. They are an imperial feudal empire, power projection +1. They are reanimators, so they have, instead of a military academy, a dread encampment granting necromancer jobs, allowing the recruitment of undead armies, turning consumer goods into research points for physics and society, and naval capacity, and spawn undead defense armies. The defeated organic armies are sometimes resurrected as undead armies, and defeated organic leviathans can sometimes be resurrected. They are a feudal society. It's organized in a feudal manner. Leaders do not cost unity upkeep if they are employed, but cannot be dismissed. In addition, employed governments generate unity equal to their level. Your subjects can build star bases to expand their territory. Leader cost -50% and subject power relations penalty -50%. Will be extremely good. They are authoritarian, allows stratified economy living standards that save a lot of consumer goods, can enslave aliens, cannot use democratic government forms, but has 0.5 more monthly influence and 5% more worker pop resource output, also fanatic militarists. Can use no retreat war doctrine, claim influence cost is -20%, ship fire rate +20%. Really, really useful, especially at the start and the mid game. They are lithoids, consuming minerals instead of food. Pop growth speed and pop assembly speed is decreased by 25%. Habitability is increased by 50%. They can settle almost on any planet. Army health +50% and leader lifespan +50. Living very long, and also adding to that necrophage. Leader lifespan +80 years. Pop growth speed minus another 75%, so they won't grow naturally. Pop assembly speed -50%. Pop food upkeep -50%. Mineral upkeep and energy upkeep as well. Ruler pop resource output +5%. Specialist pop resource output +5%. And worker pop resource output -10%. They are also intelligent. Engineering research from jobs +10% and other research as well, of course. They're quick learners, so their leaders also gain more experience quicker, 25% more. So they have great leaders quicker and have them for a very long time. That could be very successful. They're decadent though. Worker and slave happiness goes down 10%. Let's have a look at their pre-patent species. They're looking kind of horny. They have, as you can see, they are called the Sildor. Names like Lishtim, Keb, Jondra, Manubaki. They are very strong. Army damage plus 40%, worker pop resource output plus 5%. And industrious, minerals from jobs plus 15%, but slow learners minus 25%, leader experience gain quarrelsome minus 10%, unity from jobs, and fleeting minus 10 years. I think these are very good negative picks, so they won't hurt the worker cost too much, and they will really be good from the output for the worker pops while not affecting the leaders because they won't have leaders. These are necrophages. They can convert pops of other species to the primary species. Only necrophage pops may be leaders or take ruler jobs. Start with a number of pops of a secondary pre-patent species. Guaranteed habitable planets are instead primitive civilizations that can be taken over. They evolved as a parasite, feeding off all other sapient life forms for growth. As it extends its reach across the galaxy, other species will come to be seen either as apprentices to be brought into the fold, or merely as food to sustain its growing might, and we'll see how they grow.